Online, we can go back and forth about the world that we would like to see. If asked what I want, I would talk about a classless and moneyless society that meets all of the material needs of the people and allows some form of luxury and leisure to be attained by all persons. A dramatic redistribution of resources that are already at our disposal but locked away in the hordes of cold, indifferent oligarchs. I advocate for the abolition of prisons and police and the formation of dual power structures representative of the proletariat. But the truth is, everything that I just said may not connect with the average offline person. Human needs are generally the same, but we do need to talk about the disconnect and how to go about giving the people what they want. It's easy in the online space to find yourself in an environment where everyone has a similar level of literacy with the revolutionary rhetoric. Most people in the United States have not read Kropotkin or Marx or Engels or even some of the black theorists like Irvin or Fanon. There's a chance that they may be familiar with Angela Davis or Dr. Cornel West. But most likely, if you leave the more left-focused corners of the internet, one of the most down-to-earth progressive public figures they're familiar with outside of Bernie or AOC is Killer Mike. And this is extremely important to remember. If someone attended school in the United States at any point during or prior to the early 2000s, then they are operating on a heavily propagandized version of history. And it's very possible that they have a limited understanding of communism, even less so with anarchism. This is why direct action must always take priority over theory. Theory doesn't engage with the needs of the average American. It just doesn't. More people alive right now have read Harry Potter than all of the people alive or dead who've ever read the Communist Manifesto. Matter of fact, the majority of the highest-selling books of all time fall under the category of children's literature. Maybe we need a YA story about a young boy who finds an enchanted hammer and sickle. Maybe he'll fight an evil landlord. I'd read that. Where was I? Oh yeah, just that example of the literature that people en masse choose to consume should tell you where the priorities of the people lie. The people that we seek to radicalize, collectivize, and mobilize into working class revolt. They care about family. They want food, shelter, and comfort. And most of all, they want an escape from the daily grinding in the gears of the industrialized world. And that's what we are failing to speak to. It's okay to use theory as the foundational building block for your praxis and ideology, but we can't forget to unplug and code switch. The message matters, the messenger matters, and the language being used can make a difference. It should also be stated that I'm not saying the average person is stupid. On the contrary, they are probably very in tune with the working class struggle. After all, it is the life that they have lived. It is the language of change that we need to make accessible. And we also need to understand that the common person's interaction with politics, well, it's a little bit different than ours. We don't like Biden. It's not a hot take. Everyone knows his past. I made an entirely too long video about it. We get that electoralism is inherently incremental and in its current state incapable of addressing the systemic issues plaguing our society. But the hard truth is that electoralism does matter to the majority of voting Americans. We have to come to terms with the fact that for many Americans, their electoral involvement may begin and end with getting the bad person out of the Oval Office. I know this because that used to be my level of political engagement. Long before I used terms like proletariat and phrases like means of production, my political knowledge boiled down to Democrat good, Republican bad. I want you to take a moment to step inside the shoes of the average offline individual. Perhaps their interaction with internet politics is only surface level. Maybe they only get their news from cable news networks like CNN or even Fox News. When they want to read a news story online, that's the first website that they're going to go to. Maybe they only watch their local news anchors on network television. Keep in mind, there are some people for whom Facebook is literally their sole portal through which they view the internet. All of their news, all of their friends and their family and all of their memes and the funny videos they share, all of that is through Facebook. These people exist, and there's more of them than you think. If you're watching this video right now, then chances are you already have a higher than average level of computer literacy and online engagement. Some of the biggest left or left-adjacent content creators on this platform maybe have in the 1 million range of subscribers. The biggest right-wing creators have access to massive sponsorships from fossil fuel billionaires, allowing them to market and distribute their content way farther with higher production values. This allows them to build exponentially larger audiences. But this still leaves them with a fraction of the audience of, say, a Scandinavian Let's Play streamer who shouts racial slurs while on stream and pays gig workers to produce videos containing hate speech. Chances are, if a mostly offline individual is watching YouTube or Twitch, they aren't watching political content, they are watching entertainment. And if they lean conservative, then they are most likely funneled into the likes of the Daily Wire or PragerU. If they lean progressive, then they'll probably be a subscriber to Last Week Tonight or The Daily Show. But here's the thing, there's more of them than there are of us. That's just the sad reality. The majority of the population has limited levels of political engagement. This is common knowledge for anyone who follows voter turnout during presidential elections. 2020 was the most engaged election in my lifetime, and it landed a record-breaking 66% of registered voters submitting a ballot. Keeping in mind that this was an extremely contentious and visible election during a very tough year that increased political engagement with a lot of Americans. My point being, this was not a typical year as far as voter turnout and political discourse is concerned. Usually, people are far less interested. So what's my point in all of this? Why do we need to know about these people? Well, these are the people that you need to talk to, and these are the people whose wants, needs, and desires we need to have in mind when we agitate and organize. The sad truth is, for many Americans, their political engagement began and ended with getting Trump out of office. Socialism and anarchism are still scary buzzwords meant to invoke imagery of poverty, desperation, or utter chaos. And the theory discussion is basically a boring book club to them. I get it. We don't like the current president. We didn't like the last president. We probably won't like the next president. I'm not going to say anything good about presidents in this video. But I will show you something before you trash our current president and what he represents.
And taking to the streets, we saw large celebrations and crowd in Freedom Park and of course here in Midtown. Take a listen to what people had to say.
There's been no rioting, there's been no protest. We're just here to have a good time.
Atlanta is the place that I love, and this is my hometown, and I knew that we would turn out for this.
It feels like we all get to heal right now. We all get to start this healing process. And it's so validating, and it's awesome, and it's beautiful.
That's people literally dancing in the streets after finding out that Biden won. We can sit and trash the 46th president all we like, and it certainly feels good to tell off people for thinking that Biden represents any kind of systemic change. But are we sure that in the process of decrying neoliberal politics and electoralism, we aren't invalidating the voices of millions of Americans, many of whom are minorities? Yeah, we know the background of Kamala Harris, but seeing a woman of color as the right hand of the president is still representation, and it's very real representation to a lot of people. Some of the people you talk to may just want to be able to take the hand of their black daughter and point to a black woman in a position of power, to show that little girl that there really can be opportunity, even for her. Biden appointed the first transgender person ever to a cabinet position. Trans men and women go through a lot of crap just to exist in this country, and the last president basically issued an executive order as a farewell middle finger to non-cishet people. So you may have to talk to someone who's trans and just wants to exist, just to be able to live and breathe in this crushing society that tears non-cishet people apart. And seeing that appointment and Biden's less conservative stances on gender and sexuality might give them cause to celebrate. This may be the limit of political engagement for that trans person or that black parent. So what language are you going to use to speak to that person? Are you going to take a big steaming dump on their celebration? Are you going to wield your ideology like a bludgeon and smash their feelings of victory? I'm going to keep saying this over and over, but these are the people who you need to talk to, the ones who you're supposed to be talking to. Those are the people you need to reach. Those are the people targeted by the billions in electioneering and advertising in every election cycle. And those are the people we need to win over. And to win them over, we need to be in tune with what they want. Now, please hear what I'm saying in this next part before you comment. Those average, largely offline voters don't want socialism. They don't want communism or anarchism. I'm not saying that they don't want a democratic workplace, and I'm not saying that they don't want a government of the people, run by and accountable to the people. I'm saying that those terms don't resonate with their needs and desires. They're still operating off the propagandized version of those terms. Ask any minimum wage worker what they'd think of the ability to elect their boss and vote on the level of pay for their entire workforce, and they'll most likely agree that that sounds like a killer system. Whereas opening up with socialism and seize the means will probably not strike a chord. Ask someone in a poor, underserved neighborhood if it would be better if the law enforcement was someone that they knew, someone that they could talk to on the way to the bus stop, someone that they could speak to in line at a grocery store, and someone who would come over for Mets and brats on the 4th of July, instead of some lofty, inaccessible, black-clad stormtrooper in an imposing marked vehicle with tinted windows. They would probably agree with you wholeheartedly. Ask that person what the office of the president, the Supreme Court, or Congress actually means to them. Ask them if they've ever sat down and had a cheese coney and a Rheingeist with their elected official. Ask them how they would feel if the only people making decisions for their neighborhood was their community, the people who lived on those very streets. Ask them how they would feel about having the ability to approach their landlord as a collective group of renters to negotiate rent prices. Ask them how they would feel about food stores in the community with stocked grocery shelves and the ability to walk in and get what you need and exit, no monetary exchange needed. Or a public kitchen that anyone at any time could walk into and obtain a hot meal. What about clothing? What about public boarding houses that offer rent-free housing for anyone who needs it? You see, this is how we speak to the needs of the people. And we can do it in a very down-to-earth fashion. It's actually pretty easy to do. Just think about what you, as a person, need, then explain it to them using as concise and relatable language as possible. There may be pushback. They may have ingested a lot of pro-capitalist propaganda during their formative years. You can respond to their rebuttals, but use it as an opportunity to teach, not defeat. Once we learn about the needs of the people and how to speak to the people where they are, then and only then will we be able to give the people what they want. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please click like and subscribe, as well as the bell to see more videos, and leave a comment telling me the best way you can think of to speak to the needs of the common person. Follow me on Twitch, where I stream games and give lectures. Follow me on Twitter, where I give the best daily stock trading tips, and if you're so inclined to support the channel, I do have a Patreon. Thanks again.